Good evening and welcome to Livid Comics Lair. Tonight's guest is our first return guest, so very unique experience here, and we're honored to have him. He's got a new Kickstarter project called Narco coming out. You may have known him from his authorship of such books for Image Comics as Plastic and Vinyl. Please welcome our friend, Mr. Doug Wagner.
Sorry, that was for Ruggiero. He does that at every show, and he's not here. So
That's sad. That's guys. That's like a cool intro.
Yeah, thanks. Hey. Off well, I put that together and I hit it every now and again. So I don't know.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate. I have like almost no experience in video editing, so it's just me basically fumbling with an app and trying to make that work. So I'm glad it came.
It looks professional, so you did a great job.
Yeah. And it fits the theme too, the music and the whole dark look to it. So yeah.
The hardest part was finding the music. It was like the royalty-free thing, right? Trying to get that. So
geez,
every 2 seconds. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, welcome back, Doug. It's a pleasure to have you.
That's my pleasure. Yeah, I can't believe I'm the first repeat guest. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't believe that you would come back. So
right, it's a good sign.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm the only one that agreed to come back. Is that?
Yeah, we have the list. We go down. It's like, nope. They said no. Enough of this guy. No. You're the first person we asked to come back on, actually. So I'm all over social media, praising plastic and vinyl, and now I'm like, I feel like I'm a cheerleader for Narco. I just want to see it get, pushed over the budget there. But so when I saw you guys promoting this Narco graphic novel, I was like, what is this? So I got very excited once I saw that it was part of the whole plastic verse. I guess, we can start right off by talking about Narco for a bit. That's what we're here to talk about. So if you want to give a quick little synopsis of the concept, and we can go from there. Show the trailer too here.
Yeah, Narco's a little different than the plastic and vinyl, kind of approach that we've taken in the comics. And so this one's we really went Alfred Hitchcock on this one, which I know is like a strange way to go nowadays because that might seem like old school, but like we just fell in love with Daniel and I both love Alfred Hitchcock and like the way he shoots movies and when we took on the project, we had decided that we wanted to kind of do a little bit slower pacing than what we normally do, and because Daniel and I love character moments, and usually in comics, as you guys know, like in 22 pages to spend like 6 pages on a character moment is a lot of space. Right. And so in this one, we were like, hey, we get to play it however we want. If we want to have like 8 pages of our group, talking in a diner, we get to do that now because it's Alfred Hitchcock, and that gives us an excuse. So we kind of went with like, that whole like more of a psychological thriller versus like plastic and vinyl, which is more, like your straight up like slasher gore, dark comedy kind of thing. And so basically Narco is about this guy who's a narcoleptic, and he actually passes out anytime he gets excited. So when he gets framed for murder, or maybe framed for murder, maybe not, we don't know, obviously going in, he's got to deal with, can he take on a serial killer one-on-one, and how does he do that with his condition? And so that's how this whole thing, when they pitched, when Kevin Gardner, who's the president of 12 Gauge, pitched the idea to us, he's like, hey, this guy that's caught in this like murder mystery, and he has narcolepsy, and he passes out when he gets too excited, and like, what does that mean? And so like that's where we had, kind of dove into that and just like had a lot of fun of like, hey, what would somebody like that do? And obviously that's, where you have Edwin and Walter from Plastic and Vinyl, where they're very action oriented. Marcus can't do that, right? Like he can't like, hey, I'm going to go jump in a fight, because before he throws the first punch, he's on the ground sleeping. So yeah, so it was more. Yeah. It's like a different twist on this like psychological thriller, kind of thing. And then that's Yeah, that's the whole basic concept was driven around this narcoleptic condition.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So that's cool to hear how that all came about too. So it was something that he came to you guys with through 12 gauge, and you fit it into the plastic verse universe.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then he had this idea for a while and desperately wanted to get it done. And so when we had finished, when we were in the middle of vinyl, he came to us and said, "Hey, can we do Narco next?" And of course, Daniel and I, want to keep Kevin happy, so of course we're going to agree to that. And I mean, yeah, dude, it was just trying to fit it into the plastic verse, doing this totally different approach to something. It kind of, in a strange way, became our WandaVision for the MCU. It's like so
Yeah.
different than the regular ones. Like where you got Captain America and Black Widow, and they're very action-oriented films. Like, and Daniel and I experiment constantly, and whether that's successful or not is another discussion. But like we wanted to try something really different, just to see if we could pull it off.
Yeah, that's so yeah. That makes so much sense. You say the WandaVision because it's still tied to the universe, but it's just so different from the universe. Basically, it's like the stepchild almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, I'm here to tell everyone to back this thing. I said earlier today on social media I want to see a couple backers during our show. Also, I want to share this. I know people on Facebook and Twitter have seen this, but and this is something you guys are offering in the campaign too, which is really cool. I had the opportunity to have Daniel draw me as a deadhead.
Oh,
So
sweet.
yeah, so here it is. Man, when he sent this to me, because when I was messaging him, he asked for a hobby, so he could try to fit that into the drawing, and I was like, man, all I do now is write, and I'm like, that seems kind of lame, and I'm like, but you can try to do something with writing, and when he sent me this, I'm like, yep, that does it. That's awesome.
It's like that, like I just want to follow my pen and end it all, right? It's like
yeah,
shitty Monday with a full moon. I'm going on my pen.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my kid might have seen this, but he might have nightmares. But that's cool. But yes, this is. Am I correct here? This is one of the things that's offered is in one of the tiers is someone can have a deadhead drawing, right?
Yeah, I mean that's this was really cool when Daniel brought it to us because he posted on Facebook that he was doing commissions and kind of brought up that he would do these deadhead commissions for people, and you were one of the first people to jump on that. So we were like thinking about like, hey, I wonder if we did that as a tier, and then it kind of evolved into like this is me being crazy and a little bit old school, and I was like, what if we turned it into like you could not only get the commission, but then we turn it into a personalized book plate that we put inside the cover of every hardcover of plastic.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever done a customized, personalized book plate before, but why not us? And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, so I think on that tier, you get the commission, which he does digitally. So he sends you the digital file, just like you're seeing on the screen now. We also turn it into a book plate so that, it goes inside the hardcover of plastic. You get a hardcover of plastic, you get a hardcover of Narco, and of course the PDF of Narco. All I think it's around 240 is what they're for all
Cool.
that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, like, if you've seen, obviously you see this. I mean, I guess it depends on. Well, if you're reading this, then you have the same type of, enjoyment as I do with this. So, some people might look at this and think I'm sick, but
You could
I
use
look
that
at it and think
your avatar now on social media too, right?
it is. It's my Twitter avatar.
I know.
It is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you look at my personal Twitter.
Yeah. Before the show about NFTs, and that's what a lot of those guys are buying them to make the little thing avatar. So that's you could just custom avatar. It's pretty sweet.
So yeah, I mean, when he sent that file to me, I was like, thank you so much. This is awesome. And that's cool that, I don't want to sound like a fanboy, but it is really one of my favorite comics out there right now. So the fact that, I got to be part of the world. I thought that was super cool. So, so I did want to show the trailer at some point as well. If you guys are cool with that, I'll pop in that there now.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. It's Narco Night. So, yeah, let me get this pulled up here.
When you were describing the character, Doug, it made me think of like the fainting goats, how they get excited and they fall over. So it's kind of you throw a fainting goat in a story.
I've watched that video too many times more than I should admit. Yeah.
I kind of want some because they're kind of cool. Like I want them around the farm up here. It'd be kind of fun. So.
Yeah, they're so.
I'm gonna play this now. Please let me know if you hear the audio. It's supposed to auto check it now, so I don't look like an idiot. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
Yep, we hear it.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I love the retro feel of that. That's so cool.
Yeah. I love that video. I've been lucky enough. We worked with Kevin Taylor from Offworld. That's who did he's done the videos for the 3 Kickstarters that we've done. And dude, he just knocks it out of the park almost every time. Like the first one with Brian Stelfreeze and the way he did that one, and then he also did the one for Yumi, which I thought was like right on target. And then we were talking to him about this one, and actually he was the one was like, this almost feels like one of those old school movie, double features. And I was like, well, that's perfect. Let's run with that. And so, he was the brainchild behind that part of it, and I loved it. And I can't say enough about how much I actually love, especially the first part of the narco part, because it is like, to me, it's all Alfred Hitchcock, like old school horror. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want this book to feel like.
That's all. Yeah. Well, you saw our intro. We love the old school horror vibe. So that's awesome.
I feel like a lot of stories are kind of going with that a little bit right now, right? There seems to be more focus on character development than there was in the past. It's not just, they don't have to come out of the gate swinging right away. And I see that in comics. I see that on series, on streaming videos and things. And I actually like that a little bit better because I give a shit about what happens to these people. Whereas if it's just like just thrown up there and a guy gets killed, I don't care about it. So I think it's good to go back to that. And I think there is some type of a longing for nostalgia that is occurring with a lot of stories and people's desire to take part and read those stories and watch them and things. So that's good. I think that's a great, I like those stories. I gravitate towards those personally myself.
Well, to your point too, Doug, with it as a graphic novel, it just allows you to breathe a bit more. You don't have to worry about the, 6-issue story arc, where you got to have it get to a certain point at the end of 24 pages or whatever, 22 pages, whatever you're doing. But you can let the story breathe and tell its whole arc in one big thing. So Yeah. So, this is what I do. Unfortunately, is I ask stuff that you might not be willing to say yet when it comes to this stuff. But
Yeah.
is it safe to say that the narco world is now, it's obviously part of the whole universe, but moving forward, I know there's still a third series that you guys are going to work on. Is there going to be any other tie-ins, do you think, or
Our original plan was to do like these three kind of like
yeah?
standalone miniseries, what we called the Material Trilogy. And so plastic was one, vinyl was the second. And if you've been keeping up with vinyl, there's some callbacks to
Mm-hmm.
plastic, but we're not necessarily doing any, like a true crossover. And the third part of the Material Trilogy will be very similar to like what we've done with plastic and vinyl, with like callbacks, but not necessarily like full crossover kind of stuff.
Okay.
And we wanted to do that with those three. And then, to be honest with you, like Sean Lewis, who's like now killing it with like King Spawn and
Yeah.
Gunslinger Spawn. He actually reached out to me personally and was like, he called me and he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm like, I don't know if you're seeing the big picture here, but you need to stay in the plastic verses." And he kind of coined the phrase, and he's like, "You need to stay in this plastic verse as long as you can, because like people are digging it. Like you've got a lot of room to grow here." And so, to be honest with you, Daniel and I were so focused on finishing up the trilogy that we hadn't thought anything outside of that. But now, since vinyl's like the best-selling book we've had, Daniel and I've had, so like we're going to hang out there for as long as people let us. And so, like, where that leads us, whether that's we have multiple crossovers, we're thinking about like even like 40-page one shots,
Mm.
go back and maybe revisit like Rennie, like where did Rennie come from, or what is Rennie doing after vinyl, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So now the door's open to like, wow, what can we do and what do we want to do?
Yeah. That's great. With Narco, so you obviously you guys are going a different path with Narco, doing the Kickstarter and whatnot. Is that something? So is Image not like to push out just individual graphic novels? Is it more that they want the series, or you guys just wanted basically the freedom to do your own thing? Um,
That's this is us guessing, right? The pandemic, as we've talked about, previously, has kind of changed a lot of things, and luckily for comics, I think Kickstarter has become another avenue for distribution.
yeah.
And the biggest downside to releasing an original graphic novel, even through somebody like Image or Dark Horse or Boom, is it takes months, if not years, before you get that money back. Because you've obviously got to pay for the printing and that kind of stuff. And that means typically the creators don't get money for a while. And for me, it's very important that my guys get paid. I was like, I want everybody to get paid as quickly as possible. And Kickstarter is probably the easiest way for me to go, here's a graphic novel. Let me get the money enough to like pay everybody involved, get it printed. And then if we want to distribute it through the traditional channels, we can. But like my primary focus on this doing a Kickstarter for Narco is to get money into the hands of the creators.
Okay. No, that's why I asked that. I'm glad you answered it that way, because I'm curious, obviously you're established at this point to where you are working with, Image and doing some mainstream stuff, to go to Kickstarter. And, for people out there that are just starting out, seeing the differences of what one offers versus the other, I think that's important. So, um, so I don't think a lot of people would think of that. They think, oh, have that Image logo on their comic is pretty sweet, right? But when you're thinking about the money and getting people paid, and sometimes it can be a different avenue to explore. So
And
You
then,
have to.
and then with Narco too. Oh, sorry, Joel, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry, John Ramble. I got to cut him in.
sorry, guys.
You have to get permission from Image before you do a Kickstarter like that, or like you have to run it by those guys, or what does that look like when you?
Oh yeah, I
go
mean,
to,
obviously we have plastic involved in this one too. So I reached out to Eric, beforehand, because I don't want to make anybody upset and
yeah,
burn any bridges. So I reached out to him and said, hey, we're thinking about doing a hardcover plastic. I'll do Kickstarter. Are you okay with that? And he was totally okay with that. He was like, yeah, looking at the numbers from their end, it
yeah,
would take them so long to recoup the money to print a hardcover that it didn't make sense for Image to do it. And so, yeah, obviously I'm going to reach out, and, I'm not going to be one of those guys that kind of like does anything behind anybody's back. I try to be transparent all the time. So,
Yeah.
Sure, if there was some big, mediation and things, you had to go to like some board and bang out this stuff and talk logistics, and if there's like, all right, cool, man, go for it. I don't know.
oh yeah, no, dude, it was like a couple of emails. I'd reached out to him, and we talked about, they had to do a second printing of the regular trade for plastic. And we were talking about maybe printing the hardcover at the same time, because obviously they're printing the same guts all at once, and it makes it cheaper. But even with the price that they could get, it just didn't make sense for
Yeah.
them to try to do a hardcover at the same time.
Yeah.
In this case, as you guys know, like with Kickstarter, like we can sell 200 copies of a plastic hardcover, not only pay for the hardcover, but be able to like give Daniel and Dave a little, or Laura a little bit extra money. And
Sure.
so, that's the focus there. And also we thought with Narco, this is the kind of stuff that goes through your head when you're like planning all this stuff out. I didn't think, because of the slower approach we were taking with the pacing, I wasn't sure how well it would do on the stands, as far as like a monthly book. Because,
Yeah.
Sure.
doing a character, very focused, heavy focused character stuff, and then there's a month in between each issue, like, do people, I don't know. I was worried that people wouldn't follow it. They'd be like, oh, this
Yeah.
is kind of moving slow.
No,
Batman's
that makes sense.
Batman's more exciting. Like, I'll spend my money there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Again, it goes back to like the trying to have each issue end at a certain point and keep people coming. But if you're trying to, like you said, if you want an 8-page diner scene, like that's a third of an issue right there if you do it in a 6-issue story arc. So yeah, I've thought of that stuff too, like when I'm trying to come up with ideas for stories, thinking, okay, this is cool, but how the hell would I ever do this as a series? Like, this is like, it takes place in one night in a building. Like, you can't do that. You can't have 6 issues and like that. So but obviously a graphic novel is a much bigger undertaking, because you got to get that whole thing done at once, right? So which is obviously why there's so much more cost involved, especially when you get to doing the hardcover stuff. So so there's a 6-page new story in the plastic hardcover. You guys have shared a lot on social media with stuff, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything. It looks like it might be a little bit of a backstory. Is that
Yep, you're getting a little
correct?
bit of we just refer to it as Little Edwin.
Little
Yeah,
Edwin.
Little Edwin. So you're
Yeah.
gonna get like a glimpse into like kind of like how like where he comes from, and why he, not only is he odd and quirky as an adult, but he's odd and quirky as a child. And
Yeah.
you kind of get a feeling like, I mean, the page we have shown, like he's trying to pull a kid's head off. And so you're kind of like getting like this, like, wait a minute, like, how does your head work? Like, what do you mean? Like, and so we're kind of like dabbling a little bit into what we want to show you. Like, if we get to do, the follow up to Plastic, of like, we wanted a little Edwin story of like, where did he come from?
Yeah.
What's his fascination with plastic? What's his interpretation of death? Those kind of things, because he is so odd and weird, and it's like, hey, can we show a little bit of like where this came from?
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting here, is like, Edwin kind of reminiscing back to being a child, and like, oh yeah, I remember, like, the first time I tried to pull somebody's head off.
I was wondering, you mentioned expanding out the plastic verse, if that was going to be something that you worked in, maybe like a prequel or backstories, like kind of go build out the stories that way. Seems like a natural course for a lot of stories, is the prequel, sequel, right? See if you can round it out that way. So do you feel that maybe you would go that way as you expand that out if you're writing more books, or what's your thought process on where it goes after this arc?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything, it's funny. The pandemic has shown me how flexible and how quickly things are changing. But I actually wrote a 10-issue kind of like prequel sequel to
Oh, no.
Plastic. So, as we were, as Plastic 2, if you will, and so that we had completed. Like, I have the complete story done.
Oh, nice.
And when we came to Eric with it, he was the one that kind of gave us the suggestion of like, maybe you should do this trilogy where they're not related. And there's like weird, um, this is something I think you guys will enjoy. Like retailers, as you know, like they order number one. Let's go with just plastic, right? So number one, and you have your natural attrition, right, till you get to number five. And apparently, what will happen is when retailers see plastic two, they go back in their records and they see what they ordered on plastic five from the first series, and that's where they start. So you're already starting below like where you started from number one. And this is, just data that they've gathered through time. And so he's like, I would hold off on plastic two until basically they can't look up what they ordered on plastic number five. Like they're like, hold off until, and obviously if vinyl and the next one are successful, then plastic two carries more weight, right?
Yeah.
So, he and rightfully so, he was scared of 10 issues and like where that would land after, the natural attrition, is 6 through 10 losing money.
Yeah.
Which nobody wants to go through,
That makes sense. Yeah. By the way, I'm just waiting for you to slip up on the third series. And then you say the other one, and I'm like, we almost had him. And then I could. No, I wouldn't do that to you. I was say I could put it all over social media. Hey, we got the scoop.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Breaking news here. Yep.
Could you do a rhyme?
No. Well, you could call the sequel like recycled plastic, right? Would that work?
That could work. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you with vinyl. By the way, I wanted to show these off. I showed them before the show. I forget how many there were of this printed. It's a very small run of this.
Oh yeah, that one only has 400 copies.
Yeah. Nice. So that's issue number 2 of vinyl. I was going to ask when you were writing vinyl, because obviously music's a big part of it. Were you listening to music and like some of the songs you were listening to, you were putting in there at the time, or was it just all random music that you came up with?
Oh no, the music's definitely not random, and I lean heavily on music to help me. Daniel and I talk about a feel. Like when you're writing and drawing, we're not necessarily trying to. Our story is primary, right? But then you've got to try to get the people to get the feel of what you're trying to get them to experience. And so I lean on music heavily when I'm writing a book. I typically have a soundtrack for every book that I do to kind of help keep me focused. Whether I listen to it before, I start writing. I can listen to music when I'm plotting, but I can't listen to any kind of music that has words. To it when I'm scripting. So, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're agreeing, Joel?
Yeah, just I absolutely I know what you're saying, because I'll sometimes even listen to an audiobook and I hear it, but I don't nothing syncs in, I'm distracted. So to your point, yeah, I couldn't imagine writing words and thinking words and hearing words. Something's got to get.
I start typing what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
It's like, and so with the music that we actually picked out for vinyl, I mean, and that was like, I mean, I'm kind of, it's a little bit shameful to admit, but I probably spent about 60 hours picking out the 3 or 4 songs we use in vinyl.
That's the opposite of random. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be ashamed. That shows dedication. So
yeah, and it was just finding the right songs that I thought fit, because I wanted it to be from a certain era. And obviously started with Robert Johnson, and I got hooked on Robert Johnson after watching. There's like a 45-minute documentary on Robert Johnson on Netflix, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's worth watching.
I'll definitely check it out. We watch documentaries all the time, so
it's it added a lot of flavor to vinyl, and then obviously with Ella Fitzgerald and getting her in there with Whisper, and to me. It's like going through all these songs and listening. And basically, I had to look up the lyrics for everything. And when you start, Whisper kind of has like this double meaning to me, especially when you've got Walter and he's like, he wears a mask and he's different people. And to me, like, is the mask whispering to him? And so like, when you're listening to the lyrics of that song and stuff and where it goes, it's like, and to have a song that's that beautiful be part of a massacre, like when it's going on, you're like, oh man, this isn't right. And so that's what appealed to me on that song.
Yeah, we talked to we had a e-creator on last week, and they're actually putting 45 albums with their books going forth. So I'm like, that's so cool. Like, what a good idea, like a little sleeve. And
Oh man, if vinyl was a Kickstarter thing, that would be an amazing reward tier. Having an actual vinyl come with the comic.
Yeah.
I saw that Kickstarter and I was jealous and mad and envious and all those things thrown together because I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize you could actually make your own app, like do your own 45.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, don't trust me. That immediately got put on the list of if we ever do a vinyl hardcover, there's going to be a record with it. I mean that's a no-brainer.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. We're already thinking of all the baseball stuff we can do for Dead Ball. Like it's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
Lots of stuff that are out there, already just purged from the merchandise that whole industry already has. It'd be so easy. So yeah.
Well, so you guys have done Kickstarters, you said before, Doug. Do you get help with the fulfillment side of it, or is that all on you guys to sit there and try to?
No, yeah, I immediately out of the gate, I was like, as you can see, I have nothing but boxes in my office already. And so this is basically the first 5 issues of the vinyl that you showed, the villain variants from Daniel.
Yeah.
And so I've got those here, and a couple of them are like from the Yumi Kickstarter, just my copies kind of thing. And I was like, I don't have the room to like do the full fulfillment thing. So we definitely, I mean, they do charge you, but it's worth it to me not to have to spend weeks putting labels on boxes and trying to ship all that stuff out. So
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I asked because I mean, we had just under 100 backers. You guys, obviously, you would have a lot more work, and it took Joel and I almost 12 hours to just do that. So I can't even imagine having to sit there and do like 200-300, backer kits basically. So I'm always curious because I just remember going home that night, like just passing out in my bed, and I'm like, I shouldn't be this exhausted from this isn't my day job. But
yeah.
At the same time though, it was kind of a rush too, because like we knew people were finally getting their stuff, and then all of a sudden stuff started coming in on social media, people tweeting out pictures and posting on Facebook, and that was awesome. But it's time consuming. So yeah.
Figure 5.
And by the way, Joel,
per order, right? I mean, it's 5 or 10 minutes between packing, boxing, label, all that stuff. Double times 300, maybe 3,000 minutes, right? How many hours is that? 50 hours, right? So.
Minimum, right? Minimum.
Right.
Right. It's like, oh, by the way, you had to get the boxes shipped in. Where did you get Gemini mailers? And then you got to tape it in there perfectly. You got to bag and board everything. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a lot of extra work, and like I said, I don't have the space, and second, I can't lose 2 weeks of work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's when we were doing like Joel was having everything sent to him, and my wife was happy about that decision.
Smart move on your part. So.
But at the time, Joel was all about it, right? And now that we're all done the fulfillment and we have this extra stuff, it's just sitting in his house.
Yep, I know the feeling.
Yeah. So I have a feeling I'll be paying for that in the future, though.
There's a couple of we used Ox Media for Yumi, and there's a good chance we'll use Ox Media or Clover Press. Clover Press has just started doing some fulfillment and stuff. Both of them are totally like they handle all the shipping. They give you the prices of everything. I'd recommend both of them highly. So let me know if you need the links or anything or emails or whatever, and I'll share it with you guys. But it's not as expensive as a lot of people think it's going to be. And if you price your stuff correctly, losing another $1 is well worth not having to do it by yourself.
1,000%. Yeah.
Bucks or whatever to get it out. Yeah. But probably ran into also is a lot of the things that we ordered up for stretch goals were readily available, but now we ran into supply chain issues, right? When we go to buy these things. So they're what was 2 weeks to get is now taking 6 to 8 weeks to get, if you can get them at all. And then like some of these suppliers will contact you like, oh, we're sold out of the blue ones, but we have the red ones. And it's like, oh crap, it's like it's been kind of a Frankenstein, but it's still a good quality product. It's still a good project. But the things you just didn't think about that were not a thing 8-10 months ago when we started putting the project together. Just how different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool doing those campaigns to think about is try to pontificate what's going to happen in the future and things. So plan ahead.
what did we say? We were telling people August delivery, I think, or initially, because our Kickstarter ended in July, I think.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah, we were done. The book was done before we launched Kickstarter. That was our goal all along. Like, hey, we want the book done, so when we launch this and it ends, we can just boom, let's go. But we thought, well, shoot, we're doing these cover variants where we're saying this is a limited edition, like however many are ordered, we're going to print that plus a couple extra in case of any issues. And that's it. So then we're like, well, we have to wait until the campaign ends because we don't know how many to order. So again, 7 to 10 days turned into almost 2 months. And then, some of the rewards took even longer. So people were just getting their books in the past couple weeks, so a couple months late there, so it's, and I'm seeing a lot of that on like Facebook and social media, like people in these comic book groups calling out other creators for like delays in delivery and stuff. And it's like, oh, man, are you living under a rock? Like, do you not realize the whole world's dealing with this right now? Like, this is the last time I would call a creator out for not having something in right on time. Like, I've backed 18 Kickstarters since we started Livid, and I have 6 of them in my hand, but I'm not reaching out. Like, I understand what's going on right now, so I don't know. I just feel like, to Joel's point, you got to be prepared if you're launching something for these delays we're dealing with right now and the shortages, and now we're talking about paper shortages potentially heading into the winter. Just be prepared. Put your expected delivery dates like much further than you feel comfortable out there, because who knows? And then if you over deliver, then you look like a hero instead of, where's my stuff a week late, right? But
I think a key point to that too is always be transparent with everybody, all your backers. Like, I'm always like, if somebody wants to, Facebook message me, or we do an update on the Kickstarter, we're like, hey, listen, I mean, we want the book just as bad as you want the book, but right now LA has 100 ships sitting in the harbor that can't unload.
Yeah. Right.
And until those get unloaded, we won't get the book. So I think it's just, like, don't try to hide it. Don't try to like smooth it over. Don't, if things are running late, or the printers like they're talking about, I mean, dude, the paper shortage is crazy. Like, I've already had books pushed back months.
Wow.
And from what I hear, books are getting canceled, from
Is
like
that hitting
from DC and Marvel.
too, or just like smaller stuff? Is that hitting them primarily too on any,
From what I understand, from what I've been told, the printer that handles like most of Marvel, DC, Image, all the big companies, has basically said, here's your limit. This is how many we're going to let you print this month.
Gotcha.
Pick and choose what you want.
Wow, I wonder if that'd be a good time
Yeah.
for like collecting, right? Because they're not making thousands of these books, so maybe it's a good time to go grab some books and get those things boarded and bagged and send them off to CGC and wait 20 years. Yeah, when there was no paper, man. Like, that was the short run. So.
Well, did you see what? And I don't know if it was because of all this, but I'm sure Doug's seen this. What Images just came out saying is, I believe, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but that they're not going to do any second print runs of their issues anymore. Like, so they're just doing the first run and that's it. So I feel like, to collectors, I don't know if I feel like that's going to make them drool, because they're like, hey, there's one print of this and I got it, and there's not going to be any more. And maybe down the line they'll do something, who knows? But
I think having announced print runs is not a bad marketing thing for some of those larger companies to say, hey, listen, we're making 20,000 of these, and that's it. If you see one that's just one of 20,000, and they publish how many they put out. So, I mean, they can even go as far as numbering them if they wanted to, which would be kind of cool. But let's see. But that would take more time and resource, of course. I'm thinking into it from a sports card angle, because I collect trading cards too. So that's what they like to do. But it's like one of 25 or something, not one of 20,000. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But John, you're 100% correct. It is because of the paper shortage that Lair and Image made that decision. And I mean, it's an interesting double-edged sword too, because like, think about, okay, let's say you do a book. What was James Tynan's new one that's doing so well? House of Slaughter, right? We'll take House of Slaughter.
Yeah.
If it sells its 20,000 copies that you printed, and nobody can get the #1 issue again, it helps speculators, but it hurts issues 2, 3, 4, 5. Because like you were talking about earlier, you didn't get to pick
Yeah.
up the first issue of vinyl before it sold
Mhm.
out, and we didn't do a reprint. So you don't have a chance of getting vinyl number 1 unless you know find it online or you're lucky enough to get one of the villain variants or whatever. And so maybe you don't buy number 2, 3, and 4. You go, well, I'm just going to wait for the trade.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see how like all this works out.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I didn't get that. No, I'm just, no, I mean, but that's what it gets to the point, and it's like, man, should I start buying issues 2, 3, 4, and 5, even though I don't have issue 1, or should I wait for the trade? Because it's going to drive me nuts just seeing all but one of the issues sitting on the shelf, you know? So, but I mean, and I love trades, but at the same time, I also want to have the individual issues too. So, yeah, I didn't even think of that till you just said that. In my mind, I've been thinking, "Ooh, this is a collector's dream right here." But yeah, it does show the potential to hurt future sales for sure. So it's a good point.
Yeah.
So I wanted, if this is explained in one of the prior books and I missed it, then you can slap me. But the in vinyl, the meaning of the red butterfly that's floating around there, is that explained and I missed that somewhere, or are we just kind of putting the pieces together here? I mean, okay.
Yeah,
Just
that's you know, I like to leave it to readers' imagination, but I can
okay.
just tell you that like in the script, we just refer to it as the butterfly of doom.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so it's yeah, it's you know, you can kind of you know interpret it how you want as we go along with the story.
Yeah.
You know, it's rare that I don't think you see the red butterfly unless you see Walter.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I don't want to take this out, but I'm doing it. I'm just trying to
John, it
see if
might
there's a
too might be the red butterfly of doom. I think we could make that happen. We could probably
for what?
the first tattoo. We could dip into the company
Oh,
budget.
okay.
get you the red butterfly of doom. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you're gonna see this. We'll have to go full screen, but see over on this page right here, that tiny little red butterfly, just like
Yeah.
hovering around in the background.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that shows up when only Walter's there too. But yeah, you'll just randomly see that red butterfly just somewhere in the page. It's almost like when I'm reading Goodnight Moon to my daughter, except for me. 'Cause I'm like, I'll be like, "Where's the mouse hiding in the book?" But in this, I'm like, "Where's the red butterfly in the blood?" You know. But
That goes back. I mean, Daniel and I, obviously, Daniel, you know, being of English descent and living in Spain, he's got an European influence. And we kind of like both love throwing in things that maybe aren't necessarily always answered.
yeah,
And what we've narrowed it down to one thing. Like basically, it comes down to Pulp Fiction, and you're either one of those people that's upset that you don't know what's in the briefcase, or you're one of those people that loves that you don't know what's in the briefcase. And so, you know, Daniel and I are the people that love that we don't know what's in the briefcase, and we don't want to know, like ever. Like we wouldn't ask Quentin that question, right? We'd be like, we don't want to know what's in the briefcase. It's shining whatever glorious light it shines. That's all we need to know. And so we kind of both of us approach story in a lot of ways like that. And Red Butterfly is one of those like, hey, we're going to put this in there, and this is what it means to us, but we're not really going to tell you why. You know, it's like
okay,
we're just going to like put it in there, and how you interpret that is up to you. Like what you think's in the briefcase is on you. You
all
know,
right,
like
Yeah, I
yeah.
love it.
Well,
I love when stories don't explain everything. I don't need to know what started the zombie apocalypse. I don't care. Right? It doesn't
right.
matter. Right. Yeah, we don't need to know why. It's fine.
yeah.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Well, and like too, we had Richard Chismar on our show last month. I think time flies. I think it was last month.
Yeah.
And you know, his book Chasing the Boogeyman is awesome. And there's stuff that's you know that happens in that book. And we asked him about it on the show, it gets to the end, and when the main character is interviewing the killer after he's captured, he asks him the meaning of some of these things that transpired. And the guy just says, I'm not ready to talk about it. And that's left at that, you know. And so we were like, hey, is this going to come back up in another book? He's like, man, this is real life, you know, like this, you don't always get the answer, you know. He goes, so I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I thought it would be such a pivotal, you know, important part of the story, right? That's you're trying to pay attention to that, and maybe that's by design from authorship, right? You're trying to distract the reader focusing on this, but the reality is this, right? So could be some art of that too. Which
Yeah.
is okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I know what you're
Well,
talking
and a
about.
lot of times, Brian Stelfree's kind of keyed me into this. A lot of times, not telling them or not showing them what they're going to put in there, the reader is going to be very personalized to them, and it's going to be 10 times better than anything you could have done.
Yeah.
Because obviously, what you're going to write is going to be personalized to you, but this person's going to go, "Oh, what this means to me is this." And you're going to go, "Man, that's like 10 times better than anything I would have done." You know, I'm like, yeah, just let them run with it. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah. It might. I don't know if it was you that we were talking about before. We're going to run into this now if we start having guests come on again. If we forget if we already talked about stuff, but where exactly what you just said, it's like, you know, a fan comes up and be like, "Hey, did this mean this?" And you're like, "No, but that's fucking way better." Yeah.
oh yeah,
So yes, that's what I meant. But
that's happened. I mean, people have come up and gone, "Oh, when you did this, this, and this, did you mean this?" And you're like, I mean, maybe subconsciously I did. Now that you've mentioned it, and
yeah,
that's amazing that you picked up on something that I didn't consciously put in there. But yeah, dude, I mean, and you want people to do that. Like you want them to have their own experience with it.
yeah, yeah. Have you? I was just reminiscing of our first show, and thinking. I'm pretty sure the first show you came on was right before we went to our first con. We were talking about how we were about to go to our first ever con through Livid. Have you gotten back out there at all?
I've done
In
two
the last few months?
shows here in Utah, Wasatch Comic Con and Fan X. Dude, it was weird just getting back out there, and it's like for both cons, you had to have a mask on.
Yeah.
And that was a little weird, still like a little like, should I be scared, of like getting in these huge groups of people? You don't know who's vaccinated, who's not, who's sick, who's not. Because we all know the con crud, right? I mean,
Right.
being
Yeah.
sick isn't going to keep anybody from showing up to the show and shaking your hand. It doesn't
Right.
stop you.
Right.
And I'm scheduled to do Emerald City on December 2nd, I think, is when it kicks off. And so I mean I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, now I mean here in Utah, the numbers like we're number one per capita now, and
Oh,
and seeing the
geez.
numbers go back up. And
Yeah.
so that's a little scared. I mean, obviously with Reed and Seattle, there's some really strict requirements in getting inside. So I feel like I want to support that. But I won't lie, it's still a little scary to like, okay, I'm going to go to the airport, I'm going to get on a plane.
Mm,
It's not like I can sit at home and cook. So when I'm there,
yeah.
I'm going to have to go get food. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting time.
We thought it was
Sure.
hard to communicate because wearing masks. And, you're trying to be
Oh,
like, "Hey, you want a free balloon?" and nobody could hear you because it's loud in there, and we're trying to talk about our book, and so that was kind of challenging too, right? It's just the communication aspect. And for sure, we missed some people that just they couldn't hear us. Like that was the real
Mhm.
thing.
oh, yeah. I just look like
Yeah.
a creep handing out balloons to kids. Like they didn't hear me. I'm just like,
I did it on purpose, John. That was by my design.
yeah.
I wanted to make you look like a creep, and I succeeded. So worked out well.
What
Yeah.
kind of mask were you wearing? Did you like have a personalized Livid mask?
No, we were gonna do that.
I tried,
Joel
and
has a story.
I ordered up handkerchiefs and things. I was going to make them up, and they said pocket squares. So it's like, and that's my wife like, you sew like 14 of these together, and she's like, I'm not. So like I was with regular fashion stuff. It's just funny though. But yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, the day when they had the cosplay competition was the biggest day on Saturday, and then it dramatically fell off when there was no cosplay there. But it was probably
Yeah.
3 times the people Saturday versus
yeah.
Sunday. Con.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was a big
We
event.
had terrible luck with our table placement too. First of all, there's a giant pillar in front of us, which we thought might help us because people had to walk, behind the pillar and go closer to our table, but they were just trying to get around the pillar. And then to each side of us was like there was like a
Earring
like arts and crafts.
Yeah. So
Yeah, like
some brownies. We were in the wrong.
yeah.
place.
Well, yeah, I'm like, how did we get over here? What the hell? Like then you see all like the indie creators like down in a different row next to like the big names that were there as special guests, and I'm like, man, like we can't even network down here. We're like learning about how to make baskets. But
It was funny though. It'd be fun. Like it's a funny story years from now. Like we used to be down by the craft table. It's like we were nothing. So it'd be awesome.
So
Yeah.
I would just randomly walk down the other aisles to try to network with people. I'm like, this isn't the same. I'm not standing behind my table. I'm like walking up and waiting for them to have no customers and looking like a creep. Like, hey, I'm John from Livid, but we're down there with the buttons and baskets people.
Yeah. I mean, dude, tables are always hit and miss. I mean, it happens to me fairly regularly, and it's I think what I've learned, and I had to adapt at FanX this year because they had me like around the corner, and so there was like people wouldn't see me at all.
Yeah.
And so what I started learning is try to adapt to do something different on your table to make them like catch their eye. If you can at least catch their eye, they go, oh wait a minute, there's something over here. I'm not saying there's any secret to it that I've learned, but I can tell you, like, obviously with the metal covers, they're so shiny. If I take them out of the bag, I can prop those up, and if I can catch the light just right,
Yeah.
they'll kind of take a look over. But it's all about like trying to figure out how to market, which I'm not sure us creatives are the best at doing, especially when you're talking about traveling to a show, right? It's not like you can take like the light show, like with you kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a real struggle.
We did balloons with the Livid Comics logo on them, and we brought a helium tank, and we were handing them out to all the kids, and it really was a huge hit because we were the only table there doing that, and like we really infested that place with Livid balloons. Like you could just walk, because moms or dads would be like, "Oh, good, I'll tie it around my kid's wrist, and if I won't lose them." And I'm like, "You're gonna think someone else is your kid because they're everywhere." And then some are floating up to the ceiling, and it's like
probably to this day up in the ceiling still. Like,
probably, yeah.
Yeah, we flooded that place. It's awesome.
So that did get us attention at our table, and it probably got us a few sales, but a lot of it was kids running over. Can I have a balloon? I'm like, absolutely, but you're not going to buy Dead Ball because that's about a family getting murdered. So yeah.
Alert.
Oh, whoops! I'm so bad. I'm terrible. Yeah. Edit that out. We don't edit the show. Well, I didn't say who. It's fine. Yeah, okay. People forget by then. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna shut up. Yeah. It's like people ask me to give a pitch of the story, and at the end of the pitch, I'm like, I just told you the story, so I'm gonna just go home. Like, no need to buy the book. You just learned everything. Buy it for the art. Yeah. Oh. Awesome. Oh man. So after Narco, actually Vinyl, then is it coming out next week or is it the week after?
I think because that's one of those they had to push back. What is it? I think I think it's this week.
Oh, is it tomorrow? Is it this? Oh shoot.
So yeah, I think
that's exciting.
Final issue of Vinyl comes out this week. At least it's slated that. Now again, with the paper shortage, that's actually threw Vinyl off. And so I'm not 100% sure. I do have a recollection of them saying it was going to be, they pushed it back and it was going to be November 17th.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. That means I get to read the digital version since I don't have hard copies. Yeah. That's, have you had a chance? I know I talked with you on the show last time about how Basket Full of Heads was like my favorite comic out there, and then I started reading your stuff, and I'm like, man, this is all in my wheelhouse. But have you had a chance to check out Refrigerator Full of Heads yet by Rio Yours?
No, I have not.
I mean, there's only one issue out.
Yeah, but the Kickstarter dude. I mean, that's
your life.
At least 6 hours of every day right now. In the 2 months leading up to it, it's pretty much a full-time gig.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting graphics ready and trying to figure out, what do you want to put on the Kickstarter, what the tiers are. It's just like getting quotes for printing, all that kind of stuff. I haven't had time to do anything for like 3 months now. So
yeah,
there's a part of me that's looking forward to Thursday. Finally, I can get back to regular life.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Yeah, you almost forget going back that far, right? When we had our Kickstarter going, like it just consumes most of your day. Like you're not doing your normal creating stuff. It's and you got to sit there promoting.
We do 38 shows in 30 days or something. I mean, it was crazy. So you're just out there, trying to push it out. So yeah.
every night we pretty much were guests on something, and that was part of, a lot of it was us reaching out to shows saying, hey, can we come on? And then just, so that was part of your time researching what shows, and reaching out to them. And then it was, I remember my wife being like, do you have a show tonight? And I'd say no, and she'd be like, seriously? Awesome. Let's watch a movie or something. So I can imagine, when that time hits zero, you guys will be ready to relax. And I don't know if another thing too, for any newbies out there that Joel and I learned when you launch your Kickstarter is we launched it at 10 a.m. We wanted to launch it early in the day, so people would get right on it, which it helped. We crushed day one, but the last day it's ending at 10 a.m. but no one's going on, so you can't have like a launch or like an end closing party or something on and have like a live stream and try to get some more sales. It's like that last day was dead. I think we got maybe one sale the last day, if that. Where the day before we got a ton. It was that last day, just so
like a Tuesday at 10 a.m., right? It was terrible. Like the worst day was time.
yeah, that is a tough one. 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything you could do wrong on the first campaign, we did wrong.
We hit almost 400%. We didn't do that bad.
Like
no,
all this. It's a lot of work, to your point. It's tons of stuff,
Okay. I mean, here I'm, almost done with the third one, and I feel like every time I learn so much from each Kickstarter. And what's weird is sometimes I get conflicting data. It's like, oh, well, maybe we should, end it at 10 a.m. Well, let's do 2 p.m. Oh, that was just as bad, or it's worse. It's like, wait a minute, 7 people at the last minute backed out at noon on Tuesday, and you're like, so it's just this weird, like, Kickstarter's a whole new thing, man. Trying to figure out the ins and outs. I don't think, and it was funny, we were talking to somebody that was at Kickstarter before we launched this one, and they just flat out admitted to us, like, they've studied the data and they can't tell you what works and what doesn't work.
Wow.
They can give you best advice and things they've seen that have failed. They can't give you what necessarily is guaranteed to work.
Yeah,
some of the things are like, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Joel.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. So like some of the battles that we run up into too is like social media is limiting your exposure. You're trying to market this stuff and push it, not pay $10,000 for an advertising campaign on social media, right? Because you want, and like, so you put up posts, and then the same 5 people see all the time that are liking it. So that's a battle too, is just trying to get eyes on it. Are you finding with the second, third campaign that people are coming back from the prior campaigns mostly, or do you see new people or mix, or what is that looking like when you see like some backers coming and stuff?
It's a mix. I would say probably a third of the backers we've got right now are from previous campaigns. And so that's not a huge number. Now, in their defense, all 3 of my Kickstarters have been drastically different material.
Fair enough.
So, one's wherever, with like a, James Bond actiony kind of thing. Yumi was, it did have a spy thing, but it was more of like a sassy female protagonist, tongue-in-cheek stuff. And then you got this one, which is an Alfred Hitchcock thriller. And so totally different things. So that crowd's not going to carry over. So, luckily, it looks like we're adding 2/3 of new people to kind of like that email list of people that we can dip into, hopefully in the future. It's, like I said, I'm still learning so much, and I'll have to do a download of myself once this one's over, just kind of go through all the data that we get back and see what hits and what doesn't hit, what worked, what didn't work. It's just it's a constant learning process and adapt and overcome kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and you're when you're trying to come up with ideas for like the reward tiers, right? And you're like, oh, or like this tier will be really popular. This will be cool, and then it's like your least popular one, and you're like, how the hell? Like, I thought that would have been everyone's favorite. But when I was trying to research for ours, I remember, reading how like that $25 tier is like the most popular. So try to make it obviously pretty attractive because that's what's going to get the most people backing. But obviously, I mean, some of the bigger, I've been backing some of the larger tiers, like $100 and up, because that's where you get some of the coolest, like, exclusive stuff. We have, I'm going to butcher the name of this. So we have Sal on Wednesday night, who he's Alex Ross's agent, but he also does his own art, and one of their exclusives is an Alex Ross signed print, and there's only 35 of them, and like, ever, 35 signed Alex Ross prints, and I'm like, how are these not sold out yet? I mean, it was $100 and something, but I'm like, of course I'm gonna back that. Like, there's only 35 of these prints ever made. So I mean, some of those, the higher tier rewards can be well worth it. Like the Deadhead one, that the book plates. I mean, that's so awesome. So
That's my personal favorite. So
yeah. I was gonna ask if you had a favorite tier, but I don't know. That's just like when I go to back it now, right? Though, like, it's you want that exclusive stuff, and I'd rather back less Kickstarters, and I hate to say that, but I'd rather back less and go for the higher rewards that are going to get me the content that I want than just back a bunch of $10 Kickstarters. But I don't know. You obviously want to support other creators as well, but
I mean, what you're saying is, it's supply and demand there, and like, if Alex Ross is offering something at a higher price point that you desperately want, then you're going to go for that, and that's going to cut into your budget for the $10 backs. That's just, I mean, that's business. That's how business works. I mean, that's Alex Ross's job, is to get you to spend $100. And those other people have to make a product good enough that once you want to spend $10 on. I mean, so that's what it boils down to, and that's our job, right? I mean, I know we like to sit in our little creative caves and pretend like, hey, we just want to create and write great stuff and, make great comics. But at the end of the day, when it comes out, especially if you're doing something like Kickstarter, it's on us to figure out how to get people to spend their money.
Yeah. That's key, right? When you're doing the indie stuff, it's like you're your own promoter, so you got to get good at it. So, but
yeah,
so
I guess we saw that to a degree too, bringing in guest artists to do covers, right? You create that, they have a following, so you're bringing in their fans, you get that exclusivity, right? So that's part of that marketing too. So, right, so you got to do those types of things to get, to your point, Doug, to get people to want to spend money on those different limited edition things and short runs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all part. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. I noticed that I told you guys off air that when I start to ramble, I always want to do a check-in, and I definitely know I'm rambling because Joel's laughing at me.
So it's normal. So it's okay.
Well, when we don't have Ruggiero, my brain can't handle silence on conversations. I just don't like awkward silence. Even with the day job, I talk to clients all day, and if there's silence, I'm like giving them multiple choice answers because I'm like, you're killing me right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when he's off the show, it definitely throws off the dynamic a bit. So I start to talk a bit more.
You would be 4 or 5 years in at this point and have some colorful question for you, Doug. That
would sure.
A philosophical revelation of question.
Yeah, I remember that from the last time. It seemed like he comes up with a question, and I'm like, you think I'm more intelligent than I am?
We try like volume 6 on this show. You can sometimes go a little bit higher. Yeah, it's awesome. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to. I'm just pulling up the Kickstarter here again. I want to make sure people have this link. So I know it's at the bottom of the banner there. I'll be sharing it on social media. I have been actually all the time. But definitely we want to see this hit the 20,000. There's 66 hours left on Narco. So just shy of $2,000 short at the moment of goal. So I have a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You want to hold up the screen? You can share the screen. Just take a look at it real quick.
Yeah. Pull it
Yeah.
up here.
Let's see where it's at.
Save me from talking.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no. So 210 backers, which that's wild. So I mean it's so doable. It's gone up, I think, $1,000 in the last couple of days too, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a really good weekend on this one, which is unusual.
yeah. You those ebbs and flows, those peaks and valleys, they can be hard to watch sometimes because you sit there like pulling it up, like why is nothing happening today? But so if we want to take a look here, just going down the
A couple
geez.
pages, you can go there and see that we got a click there. You know, if you click, you see the little click thing there. If anybody wants to, they can go in and get a full
Yeah.
preview of the first chapter.
Yeah.
So
That's
that way you
awesome.
can read the whole book and see if you like it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why not, right? I mean,
I'm loving the color scheme on this. I think it's so cool. Like it's not overcolored, so it's cool.
I mean, yeah, I always have a hard time selling myself and my story. But I can on this book tell you that Daniel and Dave did an incredible, like the book looks amazing,
Yeah.
and that's what I like I said, I always have a hard time being rah-rah about my own work because I always
Right.
see the problems with it.
Right.
But Dave and Daniel just killed it on this book.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It really
Yeah.
does. Joel, close your eyes.
Yeah.
It's the killer possum.
Does Joel have an aversion to possums?
No, I remember I said offline our first show, he almost got attacked by one. So it's
Porch, right? So I have the big screened-in porch, and something was coming through the woods, and it was snorting.
Oh wow!
It's pitch black out here. I'm in the country, man. I can't see my neighbors. I'm in the middle of the forest. Like, you go outside, and it's black. So I'm like, okay, something's coming, right? I know it could be a wolf. It could be who knows. And so all of a sudden, this huge ass possum is like a foot behind me, walking behind my screened-in porch, and just dropping by. So it's like, okay, well, thank God it wasn't a wolf or a coyote or something. But it sounded nasty, but it was just hopping and popping right past me. So it worked out all right.
well,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. There's one of the rewards is a possum sticker, Joel. So
Yes.
It's going to be in my stocking from you, sir, for Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's obvious to everybody, but I mean, for me, having a possum somewhere in this story just made too much sense. Somebody that, an animal that passes out when they're, fake death,
Right.
is perfect for this character.
Absolutely.
And just so everybody knows, like this condition's actually real.
Yeah.
Like there's people that have narcolepsy that when they get too excited, they just go to sleep.
Yeah. I think
So
that
it's not
happens.
based on something. You think that happened to you?
I tell John, I'm like, buddy, wait till you're 40 plus. You'll feel. I do the dad nap, and he makes fun of me. I'm like, oh, it's power move, sir. 40 plus.
Oh my God.
You gotta recharge.
I went bowling with for my father-in-law's 60th yesterday. He's a big bowler. He used to be. He doesn't do it too much anymore, but we went bowling for his birthday and we rented 2 lanes because there was 9 of us and we had 2 hours. So after one game, pretty much everyone except my father-in-law were like, all right, I'm good. I'm like, we still have an hour and a half left. So my father-in-law and I had 2 separate games going in both lanes. We basically were just alternating turns, switching back and forth, just going head to head in 2 different games at once. And holy crap, I am sore today. I'm like, I never thought bowling would do that to me, but I can't even imagine how he feels. He's
How
60,
old are you, John?
36.
Oh yeah, dude. Trust me, like
Brand new. This guy's brand new.
Yeah, like Joel said, like at 40 and then in the 50, like an hour of bowling is going to be like 3 days of full recovery. Like you're going to be like taking ibuprofen and doing stretches and maybe calling the doctor to see what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Well, I saw my father-in-law tonight. I picked my kids up and I'm like, how are you feeling? And I think he's trying to be Mr. Tough Guy over here, He's like, not too bad. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, I know how I feel right now. So there's no way you don't feel worse. I hope. But anyways, so here we are. Early Edwin pages here. So this is where he's trying to rip a kid's head off. It looks like.
Yep.
As one does.
So, yeah. So, oh yeah, these pages ring a bell. So, oh, the tiers, man, I haven't been on the tiers over on the right. I've been looking for the tiers over here. So, you see all the different tiers available. There's a ton of things to choose from, really any price range, which is so key when you're doing a Kickstarter. You know, not everyone is going to be able to fork over the money for the hardcovers, right? So having soft covers in digital and whatnot is crucial right now. So like we talked about with sorry, I saw someone asking on social media, is he grabbing his junk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are always interesting conversations because, like,
right. What do you say to that?
he was like, "Hey, why is he grabbing his junk?" And I was like, "Well, okay, first off, like, if you've ever had anybody do that in a mean-spirited way, like, that's the worst. Like, I'd rather you punch me in the face."
Right.
But I didn't want to get too much into it. But I was like, plastic was all about like sexual, like there was always a sexual undertone to everything, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's why, like. But I didn't want to try to. I wasn't going to go too deep.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to get an argument with somebody online on whether Edwin should have grabbed his junk or not.
Right. They're probably trolling it too, wanting you to go deep too, right? Some people are out there looking
Oh,
for
I'm
shit.
sure. Yeah.
Take a Crocodile Dundee when he's at the bar.
Yeah.
Right. Grabs the girl guy. Right.
Yeah. And I'm not one of those people that's going to get involved in that kind of stuff. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to.
Good move.
Yeah,
Us
I'm not
neither.
going to engage.
We don't either. Yeah.
No, not worth it.
We got books write and draw. We're busy with that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to get involved in any of the drama that goes on with some of this stuff. I just want to have fun and make books, and hopefully people enjoy them and talk to people that are enjoying it just as much. This is, I was looking for the fancy graphics here. Here we go. So we got digital for Narco, the soft cover, the hardcover, which, like you said, that cover is awesome.
Yeah, I love that cover.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Super cool, right? That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. For only $42 too. And then here's the new plastic cover for the hardcover, which is so I'm going through, I'm like, I have to have both of them. So you get the dead heads in the bag.
You're allowed to buy more than one. So just telling you.
Yeah. See the dead heads around them. It's perfect. So here we go. Here's the double hardcover set.
Your wish granted, sir. You can get both. So there you go.
I've already backed. No, Joel, I've already backed this. I've already got this one. So it's
telling you. I'm trying to get you to...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you. Oh, okay. You're trying to drop hints.
I am.
So metal cover. Oh man, I may have to change my.
I'm here for you, Bud. I'm trying to pull them in.
Yeah.
Closer.
No, I love metal covers. They're awesome. So that's pretty sweet right there. And there's only 50 of them too. So again, there's that exclusive content, right? So and you got the ink sketch plus Narco or plastic hardcover 150. He's been cranking these things out, huh? Daniel, I feel like every day he's posting one that he's drawing. So
yeah, him and his TikTok videos are always hilarious to me.
Yeah.
He always starts with his cup of coffee or tea or whatever he calls it over there, and then jumps into doing whatever sketch he's doing for the day.
The one I thought was very disturbing was he's drawing Edwin eating a donut, and his reference photo was this like innocent little kid eating a donut, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, that's the epitome of Daniel and I. That sums it up. It's like, yeah, we're not right.
Yeah, no, that's speaks my language. So, um, oh man, and here we go, the Digital Deadhead sketch plus the hardcovers there. Again, you saw the one of myself. It's pretty damn accurate, and you're. I can't praise it enough. Seriously, I have it on my Twitter profile. I would have it on the background of my phone if my kid didn't try to grab my phone all the time and see his dad's head cut off. But
And what's cool here too is like I've already had 2 or 3 people reach out to me about these, and if you're having if anybody's struggling with like coming up with an idea or whatever, like Daniel and I work with them pretty closely. Like obviously you didn't need, this happened before I got involved with helping come up with ideas, but now Daniel and I like work with people that have already have already purchased these, and we're like, hey, we'll help you come up with an idea. We want it to be personalized to you, and so that's been kind of fun too. 'Cause, then you're going through. So what are you known for? And they're like, oh, wow, my wife makes fun of this. And I'm like, okay, so that's how you should die. And they're like, oh, that's perfect. And so that's, we kind of help them kind of come up with a cool idea that I think everybody will be happy with.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. This is awesome. Oh wow, look at that. That's a lot of content right there.
Yeah,
Killer swag pack.
Yeah, that's basically everything we could think of. So you get the vinyl covers, both sets, I believe is in there because that's what I see in the picture anyway of the villain variants. Prints, metal bookmarks, obviously the hardcover and the soft cover of Narco, the hardcover of plastic. It looks like there's a sketch of something in there. The cool one is we started to kind of do this plastic verse card, and we're still building out everything on that. But I can tell you, for me, if you show up to my table at a con with a plastic verse card, you get a discount on everything, a major discount on everything, and I will always have a special gift for you.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's a great idea too, right? Have like a
It really
VIP,
is.
right? That's kind of like what that's like.
I think you throw down $500 on something I've done, I owe you money. Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah. Man, that's so much stuff. That's wild. And there's only 12 of them too, so it's great. I was just gonna ask this, and guess what? So you got $25 more out of me coming. The metal bookmarks. As soon as you mentioned that, I don't know how I missed that when I went through this the first time. Those are awesome.
And Erica is the designer for all this stuff. She helped come up with the graphics for everything on the Kickstarter and all that stuff. And she just designed the bookmarks without any information from us whatsoever. And I thought they all turned out incredible. Like I love all of them.
Yeah, those look so awesome. I am absolutely, as soon as we're off the show, I'm gonna add that. And that's just looking at all the other add-ons here. So the metal cards. The villain variants. Oh man. Oh boy. I was just saying I don't have all the copies physically.
problem.
John, like off show, you need to talk to me.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say my wife needs Christmas gift ideas. I can tell her she has a couple days to give me one.
She's got 66 hours.
You do like Ralphie and Christmas Story, hiding it in like her magazine on her bed.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna timestamp this moment in the show, and when she goes to share it on Facebook for me, I'll be like, just do you click play? Just a personal message.
Yeah.
Great. Oh man, that's awesome! Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel just says he used to struggle doing covers when we first met, but I do feel like he's like in the past when he started doing the vinyl covers, something clicked, and he's just doing covers now that I don't think you normally see in bookstores, and he's just doing such an incredible job with them. Like this one, I think captures like a modern version of Hitchcock to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like you're just killing it. Like I'm always impressed by the covers he does lately. I'm amazed.
I mean, this is like, it's just so perfect too for the story. And like you said, it's like you're trying to have a modern version of like a Hitchcock story, you get, the look of it, but this kid on his computer in his like gamer chair, right? It's like, it's perfect. Yeah, and then again, this cover is really awesome. And
he's got the LTD, the old brown LTD in the background and the lights. That worked out
yeah,
perfect. What he did with Virginia and Edwin is brilliant. I like the fact that you immediately pick up on the heads and the bags, and then there's of course donuts and sporks.
of course.
And it's like, I mean, it's just, I mean,
Oh,
beautiful,
man.
beautiful colors on that too. Wonderful tops. It's a nice soft
Yeah.
coloring. It's great.
Yeah, the colors.
Well, that Laura Martin did color it.
Yeah.
Anytime we revisit plastic, of course, we want Laura back to do as much as she's willing to do for us. So she colored this cover, and she's also going to color the 6-page backup story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's always great when you can get the same team together for anything to do with the series, right? So, oh yeah, look at that. So nice print set. There.
They are. Add to cart.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's stop sharing this for a minute. No, I can't wait to get those. This second one's popping to me too. I just love the orange flames in the background there, and
that's from the 6th issue. That's from the cover of the 6th issue of Vinyl.
Oh, that's awesome. I might have to pick up a physical copy of that just to have it. The book. These are all so awesome. And then to get the Narco one tossed in there too, that's great. This is the first image that I saw, and I was like, "What is vinyl?" So this image sold me on the series, or at least made me read into it. Or was what? It was that one and this one right here. Can you see my mouse? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two. Oh, I'm like, what is this series all about? So
it's the first image you shared. So you're like, check this thing out. And I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome.
I mean, you guys know this as well as I do. I mean, the cover is going to determine on whether somebody probably picks your book up or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like when Daniel was doing these wraparound covers for vinyl, and he was just knocking them out of the park. And I'm like, that first one is still like everybody is drawn to that one of Walter on the cover with the sunflowers behind him. And then when he did the one with Rennie, in a bathtub full of blood, and you're just like, dude, like everybody's going to be like exactly what you guys just said. Like I was saying that back then. I was like, everybody's going to go, what's that book about?
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask, right? That's what you want from a cover.
Absolutely. And Joel and I talked about doing something like this too. This is so awesome, having the 3 covers that you basically have to have together.
Well, actually, all 6 connect.
All 6. Oh, geez, yeah. That's.
See if you can see just below it. It shows you like
all 6
of them connect to make one big image.
Oh wow, that's wild.
We were going to go total marketing whore and do it so you had to get one on Kickstarter, one on our site, right? One pre-order. Like we were going to make it difficult, but you had to want to get it, right? You have to buy 4 of the book or whatever. So we were totally do that. Yeah. I think Todd's doing that with Spawn too, with like King Spawn or something too right now. He's come out with a triple, I think it's a triptych cover, something like that also. So he's talking about that. Or I think it's like the female Spawn, the gunslinger, and King Spawn. I think so they all go together. So, yeah,
that's an awesome idea. I love the whole concept of that. It's especially for collectors. I mean, obviously they're gonna just be like itching over here to get all those.
Now we see to make a 6 cover case so you can get them graded and you can put them on a big slab.
Yep. Oh, trust me, I already have room on my wall for all 6 of the medals, like put together in a frame.
That's so cool. Yeah.
When I saw the layout for it, I was like, I'm going to own those.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even tell you this, Joel. So when I went to my in-laws yesterday for my father-in-law's birthday, my mother-in-law had basically this shrine of Yule. It was in like a picture frame, but like like this thick basically, because she had the books in there, like all 3 covers,
like a shadow box looking.
Yeah, shadow box. Yeah. So and it had like all of the rewards and all that in there, and she's like just gonna hang it up on the wall, and I'm like, I want that. Like, do that for me. Yeah. So
Isn't that always like a weird sensation too, though? Like when you walk in,
yeah,
there's like a shrine to something you've done, and you're like,
yeah,
I'm proud of it, but it still makes me feel weird. I don't know if there's like some kind of weird ego thing that gets involved in there, but you're like, wait a minute, like I can't believe you've done this for something that I created. Yeah, it's
yeah.
so
Right.
weird.
Well, it's
Yeah.
my mother-in-law, so I guess, I don't feel too weird about it, especially because I realized when we were making Deadball that she really only cares because I named the kid in Yule after my son. So to her, it's her grandson in a comic book. So she wants to buy them all, because when she didn't pre-order Deadball, I'm like, seriously? And she's like, I'm waiting for the one with Will in it. And I'm like, never mind. Like,
I
you
can't
don't get,
explain this to you.
yeah,
My
yeah.
mother takes them out of my mind, and she'd get a second real job. So that's so at least you got that going on for you, John.
Oh, jeez. No, they're proud, especially because I haven't, right now I need a day job. We're not making enough doing comics yet, so, um, but yeah, it was funny walking in, seeing that. It definitely made me want to do that for myself. So,
Next
but
tier. Oh, right. New tier on the next campaign is the shadow box. You get the shadow.
man,
Ooh.
I want those metal covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't even know what metal covers were until I started looking at Kickstarter. I had never seen them before. So once I realized what they were, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
same here, dude. I didn't notice them until I think it was actually Lady Death did one.
oh wow,
And I was like, what? And so, like, I did the same thing you did. I started doing research, and I was like, okay, well, how come I have not heard of these yet? And so, yeah, I mean, the second I saw them, I was like, yeah, I have to have these for myself.
yeah,
I'm already seeing the vinyl Kickstarter with like the platinum album tier, right? The gold record tier, right?
Ooh, dude, you keep talking.
Yeah, shadow box. Talked about the record. I'm putting them together. This is where my mind's going. Right? So yeah,
the
The only
playlist.
thing is, dude, I do not want to ship a shadow box.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
gosh,
I don't
Yeah.
want to have any idea how that works. Like, that scares the death out of me.
yeah.
Oh my
Well, you
glass.
hear,
Oh, yeah, they're great.
well, you keep, yeah, you keep, when you hear all these people talking about doing Kickstarters, they're like digital and flat. Don't go crazy with odd shaped things, and we did pretty well with that. We had a yo-yo as one of the rewards, which people got a kick out of, but obviously that made the packaging a little different. Not really though. We put it in the bubble bags,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it really didn't change much, but we couldn't go much bigger than that. So
And that's where I think for people that are listening, that's where you can go. Like, if you do get a fulfillment company, that's where they're going to ding you. So that's probably just for something like that's going to cost you at least another $1, just for
Yeah.
that. Everything else, like if you look at the current Kickstarter, like I made sure everything fit in the book. If it
yeah,
doesn't fit the same size as the book, then because you get odd shaped packages, or you get something that's like a yo-yo, or even some of the pins,
mhm.
where they've got to extra wrap it and that kind of stuff. That's where the fulfillment companies start dinging you.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's and you can say, oh well, and we kind of did this. I mean, to an extent, it's like, shipping could be included or whatever, and then it's like, well, then you're not having to worry about it. But then you think about, well, what about the stretch goals? That's not factored into the prices, and that's another thing people need to realize is, whatever cool ideas you come up with for a stretch goal, like that's pretty much all on you. No one is paying for shipping on that. It's not something that's factored in initially. You hit this goal and everyone's getting this. Now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how much is that going to crank up the shipping costs? So, out of curiosity, with the shipping companies there, so how does that all work? As far as, I mean, do you have everything delivered to them directly, basically, versus you, like you put in their address and they just package it all up for you, or how does that even work?
Yeah, we usually have it shipped directly to them,
Okay.
and they kind of, and basically it gets interesting. So, like, they have what they call as a pick. So every individual item you have is considered a pick. So if you put 3 comics, that's 3 picks, and they charge you 25 cents per pick. So like you're saying, like you got to be careful. Like if you have all these easy add-ons and you're like, hey, we're going to give away 16 free bookmarks. Well, there's 16 picks.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful, like how you get carried away with some of that stuff and how you deliver it to them. Luckily, most like, let's take the bookmarks, for instance. The metal company will actually package them, pre-package all of them together. So it becomes
Nice.
1 pick versus 5 different picks.
There you
So
go.
you got to be really cautious about how like you jump on that kind of stuff if you're using a fulfillment company. I mean, now they're great about giving you like costs, like this is exactly what it's going to cost to ship to Australia, you know, and for this weight, this many books, that kind of thing. And so that you've got out of the gate, you know, like they're taking care of all that, which you guys know is like trying to figure out shipping costs to, you know, like Yugoslavia, you know, all those kind of things is like a nightmare.
It changed, man. It went dramatically up over the last, 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, we started the campaign with that tier, and I think we ended up eating some of the shipping, right, John? A few dollars.
Oh yeah.
Just to get it out there, but whatever, it's all good.
And and the good thing about them is they usually ship out so much stuff that what you and I would pay for fulfillment on shipping, they get like, dude, it's like 25%.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's another benefit to kind of using
it almost offsets some of the costs you're paying them. So it's like, yeah, I think that's something to look into next time for sure. Yeah. But you live and you learn, right? Like we're trying to come up with the best assembly line process when we're sitting there doing it manually, the two of us. And after we were done doing almost 100 backers, we're texting like the next day and be like, next time, maybe we should do it this way. And I'm like, how the hell did we not think of that last night? Like that would have probably saved way more time, But,
like, oh, you forgot to put this book in. So like, oh, okay, we'll send you another book. It's like now we're losing another whatever on shipping. But
yeah. Luckily, that was only like 2 people, right? We did pretty well, I feel like.
Yeah, not bad for a couple of knuckleheads trying to get.
Hey, even the fulfillment company, I mean, they're usually pretty good about getting everything in there. But you guys know this. I mean, there's no way you're not going to get away with no damages.
Yeah.
Like, UPS or the post office or FedEx or whoever it is, they're going to run over stuff from time to time.
Gorillas.
You're like, okay, well, we're going to have to replace that. And you kind of have to eat that.
Yeah. Yeah, this time of year too. I worked at the post office 20 years ago, and they hired anybody with a pulse that could unload a truck. So, yeah, get prepared. So if you're doing your Kickstarter this time of year, sending that out, man, you're rolling the dice. Like it's in God's hands at this point.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Especially right now, not even just this time of year, but during the pandemic, where people are begging people to work. Right? It's like, just imagine, So yeah, we're at the 90-minute mark. So we'll check in here. I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good stopping point. We have talked about Narco a bunch, and I could talk about it all night. But again, anyone watching, definitely go on and back this. We'll have it on the show links. We'll have it. We share it all over our social medias, and you can visit Doug on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and just back it. It's an awesome project. We want to see this hit its goal. So,
yep, we could say that having products from Doug in our hand, everything is quality, and the story's great, the art's great, the books are great. So, if you back it, you're going to get a quality product. So you have our endorsement, buddy. At the end of the day, so
I mean, that's what we aim for. I mean, it's one of the key things for me is always try to at least deliver the best product we possibly can. And so, hopefully that comes across.
Yeah, mission
absolutely.
accomplished. Yeah, absolutely does. Perfect. Was there any last words or anything else you want to get in, Doug, before we wrap up?
No, I mean, you guys have kind of said it all. Like help us out with Narco and Plastic, and as John said, like always feel free to reach out to me, on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I'm usually pretty responsive. I just I like interacting with what I refer to as my people.
Yeah.
So, you love comics, get in touch.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being the first return guest, so thank you for that. That's awesome. So it's good to catch up, and I hope we do it again for the next project. So
yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, it'd be my honor. It's my honor to be the second repeat guest. Maybe I'll be the first third repeat guest.
We don't give like the green jacket when you hit the five guest spot, like the SNL Saturday Night Live 5-timer club or whatever.
Do I get like what did you say those little things were with the Livid thing on? Do I at least get one of those at 5?
Pocket square.
The square
Pocket
pocket
square.
squares.
Yeah, the pocket squares. Yeah, I should get at least a pocket square at
Oh,
5.
yeah, up with just sitting over there on the floor. So awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on, Doug. We appreciate it as always. Whatever we can do, guys, go out there, back his campaign. Narco, it's out there right now. It's got 66-ish hours left, so get after that. Looks like some awesome stuff. So should be a good thing, and appreciate it again. All right, so we will be back on Wednesday night, and we'll catch you guys then. Hope everybody has a good evening and continue to stay alive.